When I started creating with a purpose, I liked it even more than just creating via spontaneity after the gym or whenever I felt like it, which I still enjoy that to some purpose. The thing is I suck at it. I'm not great at it right now. I'm working on it, and I'm going to do it until I'm good at it. Hello, and welcome to the Old Man Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Flint Anderson, and thank you for joining me today. If you guys don't know me, then you are either new to this channel or somebody referred you. Either way, appreciate it, and I'm glad you're here. Listen to my stories, and let me share some wisdom with you guys. So today, I want to talk about ideas, and not only how odd and weird they are, but just in what do they mean and how do we translate them into real life and what do we need to do. So I love the quote, "There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come." I don't know who said it. I reuse it a lot, and I really like it because it speaks to me. And I live for ideas, guys. I do, and I'm going to use the building of the podcast studio as some examples during this. I'm also going to use the creation of Old Man Energy as some examples during this because both of those just simply existed as ideas and have grown from there. So, what is an idea really? An idea is just a thought. It's electricity and neurons and chemicals in our brain. That's all it is. It doesn't really exist anywhere except in our head. Well, what does that do? What does that mean? It means the only way that your ideas will ever come to pass will be if you make them. That's what that means. So the first step in having an idea is actually having it. And the second step is writing it down so you don't forget it, because we've all done it. Oh man, that's a good idea. I really need to talk about that. I really need to do this. I really need to do that. And then we get to a point where we want to implement it, and we're like, well, what was it that I was talking about? What did I want to do? Man, what did I just say? But I'm very disciplined about capturing ideas in many ways and have been for years. And I still do this. And I'll look at Des and I'll tell her, oh man, what was I talking about earlier? What did I say I want to make that idea for? So now, and I'm going to encourage you guys to do the same thing, because by the end of this episode, I really want you to have taken to heart what I'm going to teach you and what I'm going to tell you about ideas and about how to manifest them and bring them into reality and the true power in that. And the first step on that is just to capture them. And you can do this 100 different ways. You can do it via notebooks. And I tell you what, look, this is my most recent notebook. This is Ideas and Dreams. I've got tons of those. I actually have 4 notebooks on my desk because I've got my journal, I've got my daily notes. They all end up with ideas in them. But most of the time, I send myself an email. That's just the way I do it. And the way I make notes. Occasionally I do a video recording. I've used different apps. Evernote is a good app. We use Trello to manage the Old Man Energy podcast and just all my social media content. Actually, we're slowly using that to manage everything. So I'm not sponsored by any of these folks. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of tools out there to help you capture and manage ideas and manifest them and bring them into reality. But realistically, all you need is a piece of paper and pen or a phone or an email address. I mean, I've done it for years with just emailing it to myself. So what does that mean? Once you've captured an idea, well, you got to do something with it, because then it still doesn't exist. Now, it's still electricity. It's ink, but I mean, it's not really anything one way or the other. What you have to do is figure out how to manifest that thing in reality. And I'm telling you, manifesting an idea in reality is nothing short of magic. You're literally taking energy and chemicals that exist only in your brain and bringing them into the real world in the exact manner and way that you see them. Now, let me qualify that. Nothing ever ends up exactly as you see it. The podcast studio came very, very close for me, but there's still a few things. And I'm going to share some pictures with you, and they maybe even in this episode, we'll pop them up inside the show. But I had some very specific ideas. So I'm going to talk a little bit about manifesting Old Man Energy, and I'm going to talk about manifesting the studio and just why we did what we did. But I'm going to take you through my journey on manifesting ideas and bringing ideas into reality and use them as examples. The podcast is one, the studio is one, Old Man Energy itself is one. So there's a lot to cover. First thing I want to tell you is not every idea you have is going to be great, but that's not a reason not to capture it. It does not matter. Write it down, put it down. It's going to do a couple of things. It's going to teach your brain that when you have an idea, it needs to trigger your hand to pick something up and make a record of it. You want that to happen because you want to record your ideas. Every single one of you out there has powerful ideas. And all of these ideas you'll learn if you start capturing enough of them are related to your purpose. And when you start manifesting enough of them, you start to manifest your purpose in the real world or in reality, depending on how you want to describe it. And that is cool, but it's also powerful because then you start to truly become the person that you know you are on the inside instead of living somebody else's dream and helping somebody else's ideas come about. You're creating your own reality and you're starting to make your own ideas come about and you're starting to see your own ideas manifest in the real world. I'm telling you, there's no better feeling than that at all. So write them down, capture them somewhere. I'm going to tell you, when I started capturing ideas, and I've done it for years with notebooks, when I started doing it electronically, and I never really understood what I was doing. I just it made such a habit of it that did it. I really thought I was duplicating a lot of my ideas. I thought I was saving the same things over and over again, and they'd just come back and visit me later because I hadn't done anything about them. And you know what? There was a certain extent of that. It did happen, but it was less than 10%. I'm just going to use the emails that I send myself as an example. I send them to myself. I sort them into a folder that just says personal thoughts. It's a very simple system. There's about 270 plus emails in there. I'm sure there's more than 500 in my email. The other ones just took place before I started organizing them. Well, in creating the podcast and in being specific about daily content, instead of just when I come out of the gym, making my notes or making what I felt like talking about, which I still intend to do on a daily basis, but I wanted to formalize it and to give the producers something to work with. Well, I had to start getting organized. So what am I going to do? Okay, well, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start organizing these ideas. And some of them are going to be shorts and some of them are going to be blog posts and some of them are quotes. And they're just, from my perspective, there's a bunch of different ideas in there. Less than 10%. Now, I understand I spent about 2 hours organizing. I've got about 50 plus ideas for podcasts and shorts and different things. I didn't even get through 50 of them. Actually, I probably got through 70 of them, because 20 of them were notes that didn't really belong there. The other pieces were a couple of duplicates, but really ideas that built on each other so that I was able to pull them together and use them to expand on one particular topic or question. But what I found is that they really did not cross over each other and they didn't duplicate. It was a lot of unique ideas. Folks, your brain works the same way. When you think about something, maybe not the only one that's ever thought about that, but you're the only one that looks at it from your perspective. So start capturing those thoughts, start capturing those things you'd like to do or those things you'd like to do differently or those things that you would like to see. Now, for an example, in a specific one, I want to talk about the podcast studio. Because when I started creating and I made the choice, and Des and I talked about it, I was like, you know what, this is really what I want to do. This is my purpose. I want to focus on coaching. I want to focus on teaching. I want to focus on sharing my wisdom that I've amassed over the years of being a husband and father and entrepreneur and executive. And I want to give it back. I want to share it. I want to hear other people's stories. And I want to see how big of a difference we can make in the world. Well, that requires a lot of formalization. It required a lot of specificity. So whenever we decided to do that, I had to have some specific ideas. Well, what I found out is that when I started creating with a purpose, I liked it even more than just creating via spontaneity after the gym or whenever I felt like it, which I still enjoy that to some purpose. The thing is I suck at it. I'm not great at it right now. I'm working on it and I'm going to do it until I'm good at it. But the reason I'm talking about this idea right now and this early on is because I really want you guys to understand I'm committed to this level of authenticity and showing you that it's okay to get out there and do things you're not great at while you're figuring it out. Well, there was an idea. I want to be a podcaster. And I'd listen to podcasts all the time and I watch podcasts and shorts. And I love the format and I love this environment. I do. But I'm not good at it. I'm having to train myself to do a lot of stuff I'm uncomfortable with. And some of this stuff's coming across feeling stiff and feeling not natural. And I look at my hands way too much. I got to stop doing that. Just a million things. But you know what? This is the worst it's ever going to be. because I am manifesting an idea into reality, and I'm doing it because it's important to me. Now, that you guys can watch, and you guys can watch that over the course of the next few podcasts, or maybe 10 or 15, or I don't really care, however many it takes to get good at, because I'm going to put my message out there, and I'm going to suck for a while, and then I'm going to get better, and I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to get better, and that's okay. I'm good with that, because I really want to be as authentic as possible, because I believe that authenticity in the world is necessary. So let's use the studio as an example. Well, when I decided to want a podcast, I went and I was a guest on a couple of podcasts, and that was very natural and it flowed. And one of them I was in-house on, and then I started looking and asking guys what their podcast studio looked like. And some guys are like, well, okay, I'm just kind of podcasting from my desk these days. I don't really have a studio set up. I need to get that taken care of. And some studios I walk into and I'm like, whoa, man, this is really cool. And I like this and I like that. And then, well, I don't really like that. And I know, why is this set up that way? So none of it was really me, but I knew that I wanted a place to create. I wanted a place that not only was really cool for you guys to look at and to see a consistent message and a consistent picture in, but also something that when it wasn't being used, that was just so full of potential, that was sitting there, that every time I looked at it, I was like, man, I want to go sit down. I want to share. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to sit down and start talking. So I had this idea, and that was all it was until I wrote it down. And then I described it. I started getting real detailed with what I was describing. I put down notes. I put down what I wanted it to look like. I sat down and I envisioned it. I closed my eyes and I would focus on it. And focus meditation and focus are basically the same thing, just used as a different descriptor. I would sit there and I'd close my eyes and I think, okay, how do I want this to look? What do I want it to be? What do I want in there? What do I not want in there? What do I want? And I made a specific goal. And actually, I made a specific dream, because a dream is a description of an idea. Okay, I would like this. I would like my life to be this way, what have you. That's a description of an idea. So I had a specific dream. Well, in order to turn a dream into a goal, you put a date on it. That's all it is. I gave myself 2 weeks. It took me about 2.5. There was a couple of circumstances beyond my control. But at that point, my brain knew it was real. And now I'm starting to take something that merely existed as energy, didn't exist anywhere else in the world, and never had existed except in my head. And now I'm going to create the reality. I'm going to put this idea into reality, and I'm going to make it happen. And the sign behind me, the old man energy sign, well, you know what? Old man energy is the same way. That was just an idea 2 years ago. It was an idea I had at the gym while I was deadlifting. I'm like, man, look, I was feeling strong that day, and I was pulling really good. And I was recording myself. I started out recording myself just for form and faction, but after a while, then I was like, hey, some people might want to see this, got some engagement. And that's why I tell people I became an accidental fitness influencer online. But I was like, man, I got old man energy today. And I was like, oh, what the hell does that mean? And that's kind of cool. So I sent it to myself in a note. Actually, I think I wrote it in my logbook. I'll have to go back and see. So that's where old man energy came from. And now it's a thing. There's a whole thing here. Well, did the same thing with the studio. Now the studio, I needed a place quickly. I needed somewhere to create, somewhere that I knew would be consistent. And I didn't want it to take a long time, because I'm excited about this journey and I want to share as much as quickly as possible. So I got with guys that had been podcasting and said, hey, what do I need? Here's this, here's that. And of course they're like, well, what's your budget? What do you want? This and that. I'm like, no. I want you to tell me all the different aspects. I want you to tell me what I need, how this is going to happen, what we're going to do. And I'll figure out and I'll either go out and make the money, or I'll figure out how I can do it, or which piece of it. Well, you know what? I took some of their advice, didn't take all their advice, made it my own. But I was learning. I was pulling in pieces. What am I doing now? Now I'm taking that idea. I've created a dream. I've given myself a deadline. Now it's a goal. And now I'm learning. Now I'm bringing information in so that I can create, and I take this idea that I've had, and now I'm manifesting it into reality. Okay, so order the stuff I need. What do I have around here that I can use? What can I create? What can I do? What can I repurpose? Just all the different things. And the studio is an amalgamation of things that I had, things that I bought, things that did work, things that didn't, because not every piece of your idea is going to work, and not every idea that you have is good. That's okay. So what did I do then? Okay, well, we started building. I didn't really have a lot of time. I had to keep working. So I brought in some help. One of my sons got in here. He prepped the room for me. He cleaned everything up. He was assembling furniture. He was moving shit around. He helped me a bunch with that. Had no clue. Had not described to him what my idea was. He just knew that he was helping. And I appreciate you, and Kyle. I really appreciate for all the work you did. And Ashton too. Actually, two of my sons. Now he didn't specifically help with that part, but he helped bring some of these things together, and he helped with some ideas and some input. And he has a real good insight as to what people are looking for online. So started bringing all this stuff together, started doing what I wanted, started building it even before everything had arrived. That's why the first few podcasts you're going to see are actually, they're done from the corner of my living room, because I didn't want to continue to wait to see the reality that I was creating. And I wanted to start using some of the stuff. And I thought it was really fun and it was really cool. And I liked the fact that I was able to share this way, but also that I was able to see a piece of my idea start to be realized. What do we do next? Well, once it was done, not everything worked perfectly, so we had to make some adjustments. We had to do it. But the first time that I looked back and saw what I had created, and it was exactly what I had seen in my head, to a point, as close as it could possibly get. The feeling of accomplishment, that feeling of satisfying a purpose and satisfying my own purpose, not one somebody else decided for me. Guys, nobody can take that away from you. And I encourage you to do as much of that in your life as possible, especially if you are still working for somebody else, if you still have a family at home. You don't have to do things that cost money, but start writing your ideas down. Start capturing those ideas. You will revisit them later, but some of them you're going to be able to manifest now. And when you start turning those ideas into dreams and into goals and then into reality, you will be a changed person. That is how you will change your life. And I'm telling you, I'm excited. I was so excited the second day after it was set up. One, I couldn't really sleep that night because I kept having ideas. Oh, I'm going to record this. I want to record that. I want to record this. And so I was sending them to myself. And some of them don't make any sense. And some of them are just garbage, but some of them were good. I came home and I didn't record in the truck that morning. I had a specific message and I came and recorded it in the studio because I was excited about what I'd built. And I really wanted to record it in the studio instead of sitting in my truck. Now, moving forward, you know what? You're going to get a little bit of everything because there's times that I want to hop on here and I want to talk. But to go back to manifesting things in reality is your power. Guys, we all have our dreams. We all have our goals. We all have our things that we want to do. And I understand it. I teach this, but a dream is just a goal without a date. But if you don't put a date on it, you don't write it down, it's never going to happen. It'll always exist in that nebulous form, and then it's really not much more than a fantasy. But if you want to experience the true, nothing short of magic, of creating something from nothing, of creating something in the physical world that existed only as energy and chemical in your brain, you have to write it down. You have to put a date on it, and you have to actively work towards it. And another thing is you have to actively be willing to struggle towards it because you may not be good at every piece that you need to manifest that in reality today. And that's okay. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to be willing to struggle for it. I was talking to one of my sons earlier today about this exactly. It was like he's coming into his own. He's starting to grow, starting to learn a lot, and starting to really live by the idea of the man that he wants to be, and specifically the dad that he wants to be. And those two, they seem like they should be the exact same thing, but they're really not. Because in our minds as guys, we see ourselves as a man, and that man is always 18 and impulsive and rash and brash and this and that. And then we see ourselves as dad. And then that dad is usually just a stoic leader. And he's somebody who's willing to go out there and do just anything for his children. And we blend those in our brain a lot, but we do see them as different people. And that's his idea right now that he's manifesting in reality is he's becoming the dad. He already has. He's still working on it. And we all do, but he's becoming the dad that he always wanted to be. And he's becoming the man that he always wanted to be. He's talking about his struggles. And then in my advice to him and what we were talking about was, you're always going to struggle with anything in life. You're going to struggle. It doesn't matter. But your life will get so much better when you start choosing your struggles and when you start choosing what you're struggling with and what you're struggling for, instead of just allowing consequences in life to happen to you. You cannot become the person that you need to be. You cannot live your purpose without choosing the struggle. So it's okay. Get out there and suck at stuff. Get out there and try. Get out there and be bad at things. That's why I said earlier here, you know what? Some of these are going to be bad. This is the worst these podcasts are ever going to be, because you know what? I'm going to get better because I'm going to do it repeatedly over and over and over and over again until I'm good at it. But I want you to be able to go back and I want you to be able to watch these early episodes. I want you to understand that this is me living what I'm teaching you right now. The studio is a great example because you know what? I had enough skills to be able to create the exact thing that I wanted. So that's a good example of how to do it quickly and how to bring it together. The old man energy, that was not an accident that it came about. It was unexpected. As a matter of fact, the first time I talked about old man energy, I think this is in another episode, but if you went and did a Google search before we started doing this, then the only thing that came up when you looked for old man energy was erectile dysfunction drugs. So it did not look like a really positive idea on the front side, but I was committed to it. I was like, you know what? Now there's something here. And as it's grown, we can't go anywhere without people recognizing it and talking and wanting to talk about it. And what does it mean? Or, hey, I like that. I know I got that, or whatever. So that idea has been a long time in coming. It's been a long time in manifesting itself. And we had to figure out what it was. We had to set it as a dream. We had to set it as a goal. And when I say we, I said me. I don't know why I started referring to myself in the third person. But again, I'm still working on this. So the podcast, you know what? I was getting really good at short format. I was getting bored and frustrated with it because it really wasn't making my point. I had a lot more to say than I wanted to get out there. So, okay, I'm going to do a podcast. Well, how do you learn how to do a podcast? I've never done that before. I have no freaking clue. Let's go figure it out. So again, manifest an idea into reality. And this is the progressive realization of a worthy idea, this podcast right here. And I appreciate you guys joining me here so much. I am going to finish up and I'm going to wrap up with this. Make sure I don't have my lovely co-host with me today. So I've got notes over here telling me to stay on track. That's it. I covered everything, and I appreciate you guys staying the whole time. Listen, I do daily content on all social media platforms. So if this has hit home for you, please go like and subscribe to this. You'll definitely get the podcast, plus putting some YouTube shorts and some different things like that. You want to see some more of the comedy and some of the silly stuff that I do, well, you want to go to TikTok for that one because that's where most of those show up. Facebook and Instagram, that's the main platforms that we use for the daily content. You'll get to see family, you get to see our life. I want to be as authentic as possible with you guys because you know what? I believe there's a lot of you guys out there that are looking for a better way. You want to be better fathers, better husbands, better leaders, and just don't know how. Well, go give us a like and follow, shoot us a DM, and become a part of the Old Man Energy community. We'll find you somebody that'll help you become that man you know you are. I love y'all. Peace.